Hello and welcome to House News. Now we are at the Library of the House. Balinese people are ready to welcome the upcoming IPU Assembly. The House is certain the conference of the World Parliament could revive Balinese tourism and hospitality industry. No antigen and PCR test requirement for the domestic travelers. People with a full dose of vaccine would no longer need to show a negative antigen or PCR test results before travel. Thousands of Russian tourists are stuck overseas, running short on cash and without functioning credit cards. IPU is ready to solve challenges facing the world today. The Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House will utilize the Assembly to encourage the world peace. Saudi Arabia has lifted some entry requirements. You no longer need to quarantine on arrival or present evidence of a negative COVID-19 test results. President Joko Widodo led a ceremony to integrate the archipelago's soil and water in Indonesia's new capital, Nusantara. The Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House or BKSAP assessed the 144th Interparliamentary Union or IPU in Nusa Dua Bali is the momentum for the tourism and MSME sector, particularly in Bali province.
The 144 IPU Assembly in Bali will be attended by 8 four-country delegations. Vice Chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House, Putu Supatma Rudana states, Province of Bali is ready to accept foreign tourist visit. He also adds, no quarantine policy is the right thing to apply, as Bali has prepared a strict health protocol during the event. In addition, the vaccination has also achieved optimally. The Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House has put several campaigns to give awareness of the event so that more countries and delegations eager to visit the island of the gods.
Tentu ini adalah kesempatan untuk kita menghadirkan keragaman destinasi kita, keragaman budaya kita, kearifan lokal yang kita miliki, segala potensi kebudayaan yang kita miliki, potensi produk ekonomi yang kita miliki. Dan tentu ini momentum yang baik untuk menghadirkan kembali kemuliaan Indonesia pasca pandemi yang memang sangat memukul berbagai sektor ini.
Meanwhile, Vice Chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House, Mardani states, tourism and MSMEs in Bali must be recognized and promoted by the government. Mardani points out the economy in the region will regain if the numbers of foreign visits rise. He encourages MSME culture and products to make the economy in Bali could recover immediately.
Sekarang sudah mulai nih kan per 7 Maret ya, sehingga 20 Maret katakan teman-teman rata-rata datang 18-19 itu kita punya waktu hampir 2 pekan, mudah-mudahan keseluruhan ekosistem pariwisata kita sudah mulai hidup yang dengan demikian nanti insya Allah bisa menjadi mouth to mouth ya, Bali keren.
Hilman and Julian, TVR Parlemen report.
The COVID-19 Handling Task Force removed the PCR and antigen conditions for domestic travel actors by land, sea, and air. Vice Speaker of the House appealed to the public to remain vigilant against the COVID-19 virus and still applying for the health protocol strictly.
Speaking to the crew at Nusantara 3 Building, Senayan, Jakarta, the Vice Speaker of the House, Sufmi Dasko Ahmad, recently says, even though PCR and antigen have been removed, there are still rules for domestic travel actors, namely proof of having vaccinated. He mentions the new regulation is feasible, yet people are still obliged to strictly apply health protocols in any activities. Moreover, Sufmi Dasko adds, COVID-19 virus fluctuates. Sometimes the variant is vicious, but sometimes it is like Omicron. We cannot predict the transition from pandemic to endemic. He reminds public to always keep implementing health protocols in the upcoming time.
Ya, yang penting kan memang ketentuan terhadap antigen dan PCR itu ada backup tambahan bahwa bila itu tidak diberlakukan ada soal vaksinasi minimal 2 kali yang sudah dilakukan dan itu saya pikir memang bagus dilaksanakan Tetapi yang penting, paling penting ini adalah bagaimana tetap masyarakat tidak memandang enteng soal virus corona ini. Ya kalau ngelihat situasi dari varian yang ada sekarang, itu tentunya dari pandemi ke endemi itu bisa jadi. Tetapi kan namanya virus ini juga fluktuatif, tidak bisa kita prediksi. Makanya tadi saya bilang, untuk beberapa waktu ini tetap protokol kesehatan ketat itu tetap kita harus berlakukan untuk diri sendiri, anggota keluarga maupun sekitar.
Based on the circular letter of Ministry of Transportation number 20 of 2022 concerning provision for travel of domestic people during the COVID-19 pandemic, only required to use the Peduli Lindungi application as a condition for traveling. People who have received a full dose of vaccine against COVID-19 and booster will no longer need to show a negative antigen or PCR test result before travel. Zikri and Yasser Todenus, TVR Parlemen report.
Unprecedented sanctions against Russia's banks over its invasion of Ukraine are taking a toll on its citizens overseas who have been left scrambling out to find cash or turn to crypto transactions to get by. Several Russian banks have been disconnected from the international payment system SWIFT, and Visa and MasterCard pulling out of Russia in the wake of Vladimir Putin's invasion.
Thousands of Russian tourists are stranded overseas because of the war in Ukraine, many unable to pay their bills or return home because of sanctions and cancelled flights. The crisis in Europe also put a crimp in recovery plans for the Southeast Asian nation's tourism industry, which has hosted more visitors from Russia than any of its neighbors before the pandemic hit. Russia's economy is facing its gravest crisis since the 1991 fall of the Soviet Union, after Western countries moved in recent days to isolate it from the global financial system. International payment system SWIFT has disconnected several Russian banks from its network, while Visa and MasterCard said they were blocking overseas use of their cards issued by Russian banks from March 9. Quoting from ABC News, Russia faced two main problems: cancellation of their flight home by airlines, which have stopped flying to Russia, and suspension of financial services, particularly by credit card companies that have joined sanctions against Moscow. There are also some Russians who prefer to delay their return.
The Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House claims will fight humanitarian and world peace issues to become the main topic in the 144th General Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union in Bali.
Vice Chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House, Putu Supatmarudana, says conflict between countries in Europe or in the Middle East is harmful and violates human rights. Putu assessed Indonesia as a country who uphold unity and integrity has to take part on becoming World Peace Initiator. Therefore, Putu urges the world peace to be one of main issues in the 144th General Assembly of IPU in Bali.
Isu perdamaian kedamaian itu menjadi hal utama. Biasanya di emergency item namanya, pembahasan emergency item itu selalu muncul. Isu kemanusiaan, isu perdamaian, isu-isu yang sangat genting yang betul-betul perlu disuarakan oleh IPU. Dan saya pikir IPU justru berperan dalam hal ini melakukan diplomasi dengan dari sisi parlemen dan menyuarakannya lebih komprehensif, dan mudah-mudahan ini akan memberikan titik temu yang baik untuk tercapainya perdamaian dan kedamaian di dunia.
Meanwhile, another vice chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House, Mardani, states humanity issues is necessary to be the spotlight, including vaccine justice. He added, currently a number of countries in Africa get insufficient supply of COVID vaccine. He wished the event will be able to earn commitments on economic recovery and health post-COVID-19 pandemic.
IPU 4143 kemarin, teman-teman Parlemen Afrika menggolkan resolusi keadilan vaksin. Mereka merasa satu vaksin untuk 31 orang Afrika. Sementara di Kanada atau di Amerika, 12 vaksin untuk satu orang Amerika, kan itu tidak fair. Nah.
Hilman Hidayat and Julian, TVR Parlemen report.
The House welcomed Saudi Arabia's new policy regarding the implementation of the HAJJ and UMRAH pilgrimages during the COVID-19, such as not requiring quarantine, wearing masks outdoors, and requiring PCR tests. The House assessed this updated regulation will ease the convergence and reduce the cost of HAJJ and UMRAH.
Responding to this, Vice Chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House, Mardani Alisera says government needs to do immediate policy adjustment owing to plenty of congregates waiting for Umrah pilgrimage. Mardani added the government needs to ensure the certainty regarding departure of Hajj congregates in 2022. He also points out economic recovery in terms of Hajj and Umrah travel agents will improve, providing that the pilgrimage trip start to return to order.
Ini kerinduan dari semua pihak untuk segera dapat kembali normal melaksanakan ibadah umroh, karena memang Indonesia itu hampir 1,3 sampai 1,5 juta per tahun yang umroh, dan itu bukan cuma baik buat masyarakat, kesehatan rohaninya, tapi buat bisnis dan para pekerja di bidang traveling wisata religi ini juga baik.
Meanwhile, Vice Chairperson of Commission 8 of the House, Aceh Hasan Syazili, claims the government should accelerate booster vaccination for the public as a result of this new policy of removing quarantine and PCR testing for Indonesian Umrah and Hajj congregates. Aceh Hasan affirmed Working Committee on Hajj Travel Costs of the House and the Ministry of Religious Affairs will work together and convinced the preparation for the Hajj in 2022 has settled. Aceh wishes public can return to perform Umrah and Hajj pilgrimage safely.
Nah, memang akhirnya kita harus melakukan penyesuaian terhadap kemungkinan terjadinya tidak melakukan tes PCR serta karantina tersebut. Usulan pemerintah kemarin yang menyampaikan 45 juta per jamaah itu saya kira memang bisa disesuaikan.
Hilman Hidayat and Teddy, TVR Parlemen report.
Presiden Joko Widodo, along with provincial leaders and several cabinet ministers, gathered on March 14 in North Penajam Pasar Regency, East Kalimantan, to partake in a symbolic ceremony to bless the development of the nation's new capital, Nusantara.
The ceremony was held at the Kilometer Zero at the new capital, where each provincial governor or their representative took turns in adding soil and water, symbolizing the archipelago of Indonesia to a gold-plated container. Taken from Indonesia.Suara, President led the integration ceremony of the archipelago soil and water integration. The first governor to hand over soil and water was Anies Baswedan, the governor of DKI Jakarta. All the soil and water that the governors and representatives handed over were put together by the president into a large vessel. In his remarks, President Jokowi said the integration of the archipelago soil and water indicates a big goal and a big work that will soon begin, which is the construction of the national capital city of Nusantara. The president emphasized the integration process of the archipelago soil and water is a strong manifestation of diversity and unity to build the capital of the archipelago. Strong collaboration between the central government, regional governments, the military, police, the private sector, and the entire community in the development of the nation's capital city will greatly help aspiration to be achieved soon.
And that's House News for today. Thank you for watching, everyone, and have a good day.